right, let's come back home. And in the lead up to the new year, one of the great unknowns is the extent to which businesses and employers will be having their employees return to the workplace. Much discussion of hybrid working, of course, with some companies even introducing work from anywhere policies. Here to help us through that is AusBiz regular Joydeep Hor from People and Culture Strategies. Joydeep, terrific to talk to you again. So it is a bit of an unknown at the moment. Maybe businesses are feeling they haven't quite worked out where they want to sit in this regard. What are you seeing any particular trends emerge, or does this perhaps depend on the sector?
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. Really good question. And there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think uncertainty has characterised the environment in workplaces for the better part of the last 20, 22 months. When it comes to the issue of what working arrangements and location of working arrangements for organisations, there are a lot of variables. I think even organisations 2 months ago that were saying, look, we really like the way this whole working from home thing is working, and we're seeing that it's not having an adverse impact on our business, and our staff seem to be saying good things about it. Their views have changed, particularly in Sydney, for Sydney-based businesses, just in the last few weeks, where they're experiencing firsthand some of the things that they had probably lost sight of as being important. The importance of the buzz in a workplace environment, the fact of being in an area where you are able to collaborate with your co-workers, realizing that virtual meetings and things like that, yes, they're okay up to a point, but nothing beats the power of in-person collaboration. Nothing beats those relationships that can be built. So there's a lot of evolutionary thinking happening as we speak. And I think it'll be interesting because some organizations have probably gone out on a limb and said, well, this is the way of the future, but they're probably rethinking some of that.
Yeah, so it's a question of whether that hybrid model works for these businesses, and I guess they need to consider productivity, but also overall, are they perhaps saving money doing this?
I think that was certainly one of the opportunities that a lot of organisations had identified in terms of rent savings and perhaps being able to downsize their physical space. It's always trade-offs, as it is in anything to do with people. There are some things that you will be able to gain by allowing people to have some productive time, and I've heard pretty much every model bandied about across our clients over the last few weeks, where as you said, some organisations have actually asked for our assistance in helping them formulate a work from anywhere policy, which is quite extraordinary when you think about it. But it reflects that there are some quite out there type concepts being entertained. But a lot of organisations are saying, you know what, we did what we had to do over the last 2 years. We really don't want to be in a position where we are forced to have to do that again. If we are, we'll think about things at that point in time, but we need people back and we want people back. That's the way we do business, and that's what works for our team.
Yeah, so Jordan, I mean, clearly in this current environment, many businesses are struggling actually to find employees given the tightness of the labour market. So when you reference that working from anywhere, is it possible then that they could be drawing on talent overseas and they remain overseas but sort of work virtually?
I think that's certainly an opportunity for a lot of organisations. It depends on the type of work that they're doing and the type of workforce that they need or perhaps need to grow. I think, though, what you're touching on there, Andrew, is a really important point, that for a lot of organisations now in this highly competitive candidates market type environment, they are having to really pull out all stops when it comes to being seen as an attractive place of work. And there are a lot of employers who are responding to the fact that particularly people who are at a particular generational level are saying that, we've really liked the flexibility, we've liked the fact that we're getting better work-life balance over the course of the last 2 years, and that's now a critical part of my decision-making when it comes to where I decide to work. And employers are being forced to respond to that. As to, though, whether that leads to some level of resentment at an employer level down the track, which I think it actually will, as time progresses. These things always, there are swings and roundabouts. So I think there's going to be some adverse consequences for organisations if they push too hard in terms of just attracting people in.
And Joydeep, of course, I think pretty much every day we hear these stories about employees that quit because of vaccine mandates in the workplace. What are you seeing at the moment. Is this affecting businesses? Is it likely to in the future?
What we're seeing, and it's a great question, we are very much now, and probably this started, I would say, from what we're seeing in the last week or two, very much the pointy end of organisations who probably a few months ago decided that they were going to mandate vaccinations for their staff, or the majority of their staff, and they would have given time periods, with a lot of them choosing a 30 November date or a mid-November date. And so we're starting to get to that point now where those organisations who have introduced those policies are going to have to make some decisions, potentially very difficult decisions. And a lot of our clients and a lot of organisations we're working with have had to make those very difficult decisions. This is going to continue to be a controversial issue. Up to now, there has been no support in an external legal environment for those who want to insist that they have a right not to be vaccinated in the context of suggesting that their employer is acting beyond the scope of its power. Employers have won everything so far when it comes to that. And I think that reflects and should give a lot of confidence for employers that they've probably done the right thing when it comes to the introduction of these policies. But now it's some real challenges for them. Are they going to carry through? What support are they going to give? How are they going to draw the balance between fairness and compassion while still recognising that these policies are introduced for a good reason? I think we can expect over the next 2 months to see a little bit more controversy, probably some quite high-profile cases, and there's a lot of angst, which is always a sad thing in a workplace context, because this is not necessarily about who's right and who's wrong in a workplace context. It's ultimately about an employer having to do what it needs to do from a work health and safety perspective. But there are some very strongly held views, as you know, when it comes to vaccinations.
Joydeep, good to catch up again. Thanks for joining us from People and Culture Strategies.
Thanks so much, Andrew.